Hey there, my name is Jessica Coulter, and I am the CEO and founder of Ace Cookie Tutoring. Today we're going to be talking about one-step equations. So if you're struggling with figuring that out, maybe you're a parent helping out your middle schooler, or maybe you are a student and you've got some questions. So I am hoping to help you out with all types of one-step equations, no matter if you're doing addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. So thank you so much and hope you enjoy and hope it helps you out. Okay, so before we get started, we need to talk about what a one-step equation even is. So in case you're that confused and we need to start back at the beginning, just know a one-step equation is an algebraic equation that is solved in one step. So the next step after you guys figure out one step will be two-step, your teachers probably mentioned, but for now all we're focusing on is one-step equations. So the four examples on the screen are the ones we're going to talk about today. So we've got four different examples: 3x equals 18, k minus 5 equals 10, 1/8 y equals 2, and 7 plus b equals 19. So those are the four examples we're going to figure out how to solve in one step. Okay, so we've got the definition figured out of a one-step equation. Before we can actually work on solving those four problems, we need to talk about something called the inverse. So you've probably heard that somewhere by now if you started on one-step equations, and you might be wondering what that is. So if you've got the definition down, awesome. Otherwise, for those of you that need it, inverse just means opposite. So we just need to remember multiplication and division are opposites, and subtraction and then addition are opposites. So if I'm going to solve a problem that has addition in it, and I'm doing a one-step equation, the opposite of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to have to subtract something to get the variable by itself and to solve the equation. So we're getting ready to go ahead and start on those actual examples for you on the next slide. All right, here is that first example, example number 1. It is 3x equals 18. All right, we just talked about inverse. So the inverse of multiplication is division. So for those of you that like everything together, I've got it written out for you. For those of you like me that want a little neater, since I know my handwriting is not the greatest, I typed it out for you on the side. So the first step is to recognize that's a multiplication problem. The next step is to realize it is going to require division to get that x, which is our variable, by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because that's what's attached to the x. So 3 and the x are being multiplied together, and to break them apart, to get the x by itself, I have to divide. So if I divide 3x by 3, I have to do the same thing on the other side of the equal sign. So I have 3x divided by 3 gives me x by itself, and then I do 18 divided by 3, which gives me 6. So my final answer is x equals 6. Hey there, just wanted to stop for a second and let anyone know who is looking for some one-on-one help. We are available for lessons in person or online through Zoom. So if you think this might be a lot easier to understand with someone right next to you kind of guiding you through step by step, we would love to help you. Just go to that link on your screen to book your lesson. Just choose the day and time that works best for you. It's www.acecookie-tutoring.com/book-online. All right, we'll go ahead and get back to it and teach you more about one-step equations. All right, time for some subtraction. So example number 2 is k minus 5 equals 10. Now for some of you, you might get a little confused because I try to be tricky on this. On some questions that you're going to see on homework, on your tests, whatever it might be, that variable might be first. So that means I have to be really careful with my signs. Because from this point on, as you go through your math career, through high school, maybe even college, signs are going to be very important. So I try to keep it easy. The sign is positive, but we have a negative sign, a minus sign, in front of the 5. So on the left side of the equation, I have k minus 5. I have to remember my inverse of subtraction. So hopefully you remember inverse of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides because I want to get k by itself. So I've got to get that variable by itself in order to solve the equation. So I add 5 to the left side because -5 plus 5 gives me 0, so k is by itself. And then I add 5 to the other side, so 10 plus 5 is 15. So the final answer is k is equal to 15. And I've tried to color code all of my handwriting so you can follow it slide by slide. And then again, I've typed out all the steps on the right side for you. All right, example number 3. So for most of my students, when we have division problems for one-step equations, that's the hardest thing. So if you're in the same boat, I hope you pay attention, and I hope you pay attention to all the details because they are easy to do once you figure out kind of all the little details and mini steps involved. So example number 3 is 1/8 y is equal to 2. So we see it's a division problem. So that's the first little step. The second step is to remember the inverse of division, and again that's multiplication. So I have to get 1/8 and y separated. I have to break up 1/8 and y, and I do that by multiplying. So this is where it gets a little tricky for some of my students. So to multiply 1/8, I multiply by 8. And I'm doing that because I want the y to be by itself. And so there's a word that you've probably heard your teacher say, and that's the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/8 is there at the bottom on the left side in purple, which is 8. Now I went ahead and put 8 over 1 just to make it really simple. 8 over 1 is the same thing as 8. But for today, we're just going to say 1/8 times 8 over 1 gives me 8 over 8, which is the same thing as 1 after I simplify. So if I have 1/8 y and I multiply it by 8, or 8 over 1, I get y by itself. So once I do that, then I'm done with the left side of the equation. So since I multiply the left side by 8, I have to multiply the right side of the equation by 8 as well. So my final answer is y equals 16. So again, if that gets a little confusing, just remember when I do a division problem, I'm going to have to multiply, and when there's fractions involved, I multiply by the reciprocal. So I multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction on both sides. Alright, so if you need to practice this one on your own, I've got all the steps written down and I've color coded them for you. So maybe you write it down 1/8 y equals 2 on your own, try to solve it, and if you need some help, come back and listen to the slide again and look at my steps one by one. Okay, you made it this far. This is the last example, and a lot of times addition problems are pretty simple for most of my students. So hopefully you are the same way, and this is just a refresher for you. If not, that's totally okay. We'll walk you through it step by step. So I've got example number 4, and it is 7 plus b equals 19. Now again, you've got to pay attention to your sign. So some of my students pay attention to the sign on the right side, which is not correct. So whenever you're trying to decide the sign of a number or a variable or a coefficient, you must look to the left side of that number, variable, or coefficient. So I have a positive 7 and I have a positive b. So I'm going to do my inverse of addition, which is subtraction. So in order to get the b by itself, I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides of the equal sign. So 7 minus 7 is 0, which means b is equal to 12. Because after I do 19 minus 7, I end up with 12. So again, I subtract by 7 on both sides because subtraction is the inverse of addition, and I have to do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. Well, congratulations, you made it through all 4 example problems. Now before we're done, I wanted to show you how to double check your answers. So whenever you're working on homework, whenever you're on a test, unless it's a time test or unless you run out of time if it is a time test, I want you to check your answers. Because one-step equations, There's no reason you should ever get a problem wrong. Now, if you can't figure it out, you can't figure it out, but hopefully I've solved that for you today and given you enough details to help you on your next homework assignment. So, I just wanted to go through these really quickly for you. Our first example problem was 3x equals 18, and we ended up with x equals 6. So to check my answer, all I have to do is plug in that number 6 whenever I see an x in my equation. So I'm going to do 3 times 6, and I'm going to see if that equals 18. So if you need to, you can plug that into your calculator, and you'll get 18 equals 18. So if I get the same number on the left side as on the right side, then I know my answer is correct. So we're going to do the same thing for the second example problem. The second one was k minus 5 equals 10, and we said k is 15. So again, whenever I see k, I'm going to plug in the number 15, and I'm going to do 15 minus 5, and I should get 10. So again, if I get 10 on both sides, I'm good to go. Okay, we made sure we did the first two example problems right. Let's make sure we did the last two example problems right. So that third one was the kind of tricky one, the 1/8 y equals 2, and we said y is equal to 16. So I'm going to do this in my calculator, 1/8 times 16, and if I did it right, I will get 2. So if 2 equals 2, that means the answer is correct. Now, if you need to, if you want to, if your teacher doesn't allow you and you want to practice your math skills, you can do this by hand and do 1/8 times 16 over 1, and we'll multiply the numerators by the numerator, and then do the denominator by the denominator, and when you simplify it, you will get 2. So again, 1/8 times 16 in your calculator will get you 2, or you can do it by hand if you're not allowed to use a calculator, you don't know where yours is, and or you just want to make sure you remember how to multiply fractions. Okay, so example number 4, it was easier, I definitely think, than the third one. So we had 7 plus b equals 19. We solved it and it ended up with b equals 12. So if I do 7 plus 12, I get 19. So there you go. We've double checked all 4 of your example problems. Well, that's everything I have for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope the one-step equations are now very easy for you and or your kiddos or students. So if you have any other questions, maybe you'd like to schedule a lesson so I can help you one-on-one, whether it's in person or maybe online right now with those one-step equations, go ahead and go to that link, or just go to www.acecookietutoring.com/book online. I do always have a monthly special, so it will be listed there for you. It might be a free consultation, it might be a percentage off a lesson. So I would love for you to join me, and would love to help you become a smart cookie and get better at those math skills or whatever you might be struggling with. And do also know I will be posting other videos like this one, as well as different worksheets and activities on my website at www.acecookietutoring.com/shop. And finally, if you enjoy this video and you want to be kept in the loop, I always send out monthly newsletters and specials, as well as current tutoring tips or maybe things I want to keep you updated about. Feel free to join my email list. You can just send an email to acecookie.tutoring@gmail.com and just let me know you'd love to join the list. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to talk to you soon and maybe even work with you or your kiddo. Thanks so much.